They told you about meditation, how it can expand your consciousness, bring more awareness of yourself, finally find that inner peace. And you started meditating, and now you're finding yourself incredibly frustrated. Your mind is racing, or even more so, you're feeling disconnected from yourself while you're seeing all these other people meditating and expanding their consciousness. This can be so exhausting, and I was in your position not too long ago. But that being said, even going through this process of exploring what meditation is, I found that the majority of information out there is not meditating at all. And in this video, I'm going to give you a method, very simple, to find the center of your being and finally find that inner peace that you're looking for. And in doing that, you'll find stillness, you'll find more awareness, and you'll finally be able to expand and deepen your consciousness. So with that being said, let's get right into the video. There's a paradox of meditation. Most people will tell you that meditation is about emptying the mind, finally finding that inner peace and stillness. But then you'll get a guided meditation or a visualization exercise and you start doing it. But here's the thing, now you're actually doing something. And this effort is actually a lot of the time what causes resistance and frustration to this whole process. How can you let go of your thoughts and feelings and everything inside of you when you're actually having to follow a process and do something? I feel like that's actually even pulling you away from this whole process of finding inner stillness. So then comes the anti-meditation. So in response to that, I'm going to show you the art of non-doing. The anti-meditation, which while simple, is not necessarily easy, but over time will certainly get easier and give you a vast amount of benefits compared to anything you've tried before. So let's get into this process here and see what is the anti-meditation. At your very center, at your very core, is who you are as a human being. And as you go on through life, we pick up habits, we pick up thought patterns, we pick up mental models, we pick up all these things that we kind of wear as almost like thought garments or emotional garments over our inner being. And in ancient times, in the days when we didn't have such a busy, attention-grabbing society, we would often sit by a campfire or by the lake or somewhere in nature. And that time would give us expansion. It would give us time to process our thoughts and feelings and get back to that center of our being. How often do you get that time? How often do you give yourself that time to sit and do absolutely nothing? To sit in silence? This is where your mind is actually able to clean out this sort of junk that gets built up day after day, week after week. So the anti-meditation is simply a process of being, to really find that center of your being, who you really are. And the reason why it can be so difficult when you sit in silence at first, when your mind, your subconscious mind, begins just like screaming at you, is because we live mostly in our conscious minds. Most of the day, we're activated with our conscious minds. And our subconscious mind is like the storage facility. It's capable of storing your thoughts and feelings and hanging on to them for later, hoping that we'll give it the space and the time for these things to be processed. And when we don't give it that space and time for these things to be processed, that's when people start feeling, that's when I definitely started feeling overwhelmed. I started getting more anxious. You know, I had this unsettling feeling. It's because I was never giving myself space and time to actually meditate and just sit in silence for 10 minutes, 20 minutes. So what I started doing is I started taking action, and I started, really being with intention, creating that space every day. Like, put it in your schedule that you're going to meditate for 10 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever. And then as you do that, as you sit in that silence, like, your subconscious mind starts screaming at you, and these thoughts will start coming up. All these thoughts that you've suppressed, these half thoughts that you've had will come up. And your job is not to try and fix anything. I think that's where people actually get caught up in this process, where it becomes frustrating, is you get these thoughts and then you start to try and engage with them. You don't actually have to engage with these thoughts. Simply observe them like cars going by on a highway in that silence. And eventually, and it's going to take some time, like the first time around, you're just going to be looking at all these thoughts coming up, all these things coming up there. You're like, wow, these are all the things that I think about every day that I never really dealt with. And as you go on, session by session, you'll find that there's less and less of these thoughts coming up. And you're finding more and more something else coming up, which is your feelings. Your feelings are basically expressions of experiences that get trapped in your body. And for the most part, feelings are stored and created through the body. And so you may even have, after all the thoughts are gone, and you're like, finally I got silence, the feelings will start coming up. Love or hate. More often than not, it's like negative emotions that have been deeply rooted in you. And again, your job is not to fight the feelings. It is to actually, and not to engage with the feelings. It's actually to observe the feeling, where it is. Where is that feeling trapped in your body? Feelings oftentimes, and I felt this with PTSD, is when you have a feeling for long enough, it actually gets trapped as like physical sensations or like pain in your body. And so you have to find where that is. And in doing that, you'll just be aware with it, just connect with it. And it'll slowly start clearing itself out, session by session. And eventually that feeling will dissipate because we're not so aware of our feelings that get stored in our body. And the last thing that happens, once the thoughts have been observed and let go, once the feelings have been observed and let go, then you'll enter the right hemisphere of the brain. Something actually happens where a gateway to the right hemisphere of the brain is opened up. And this is sort of your, what I call infinite expansive awareness. This is where you can get access to knowledge that's almost beyond time and space. And this has been scientifically proven that the intuition is not any part of physical structure in your mind. Your consciousness is not a part of any physical structure in your mind. These things come from outside of yourself. This is the process of expanding your consciousness, is when you let go of all the physical attachments, thoughts, and feelings, you now get opened up to the higher natures of yourself. And maybe some really profound insights will come up, this deep inner wisdom that you know is not you, but it sounds like you. And this is such a magical place to be in, honestly. I look forward to it every day. It's the best part of my day, and I'll be honest, I didn't make a regular routine of meditation in the past, but just having this level of connection with myself at almost like a more deeper spiritual or soul level has helped me actually prepare for all the crap that I have to deal with in my life every day. It's actually something I think about even when I was a paramedic. I would help people who are going in for heart surgery. They'd be so anxious. They'd be thinking about what's going to happen next. Am I going to survive? And they'd have all these questions they're asking me. And the best thing I could do for them actually is to tell them to relax. I would turn down all the lights in the back of the ambulance. I wouldn't listen to music or anything. I would just kind of sit there in silence with them. And we'd both sit in silence. And you would feel this tension slowly kind of melting away from the patient in preparation for this process that they're going to go through. So this, finding the center of your being, can be such an incredible way to connect with your intuition. And so finding this inner being, the center of you, who you are, will help literally center you when you have to go through life's challenges on a day-to-day basis. And you'll find maybe you're not as irritable. Maybe you actually feel more joyful doing the things you already enjoyed. There's a sense of lightness that gets unlocked. But the other most powerful thing is your intuition. That being said though, you got to be able to discern between your intuition and your ego. And I've created a whole video on that you can check out here. Until next time, subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And until next time, peace.